What's up, everyone? It's Scott here with Beatty's Beat, live from New Jersey. I'm here to pop in today and talk about the Groups A and Group B action in the World Cup 2022. Let's just start with the most obvious of places. United States versus Wales finished just a few hours ago, and I've got some thoughts. I think, from an emotions perspective, and not really knowing what to expect from this US team, I think you've got to be very uplifted, proud, and impressed with the display that we saw today. Now, granted, it was a draw, but I think the way that the United States approached the game and the mental fortitude that this group had, I mean, honestly, I went in to this game with a blank slate because I really truthfully haven't watched the United States play for a good 4 or 5 years. We haven't been in a major tournament. Yes, I'm kind of overlooking the Gold Cup. So I haven't seen our boys play in quite a while, but I was really impressed with uh, how the team has been assembled as a whole, how they performed. United States and Wales really were quite even going into this match. Um, as I was explaining to some of my coworkers today, the United States was probably a slight favorite in this game, and I think that it's a pretty good credit to the United States that Wales tried to sit back and absorb the pressure. I think that suited Wales' style as well because I think they've got some really quick players up front in Wilson and Daniel James. I think both teams played quite well and according to their strengths. And I think 1-1 is a bit harsh on the United States. I'll get into some of the details in a second, but it's not uh, a completely unjust result. Actually, Wales had 1.73 xG. I think that was down to a flurry of chances towards the end of the game. But let's rewind a second and start from the top. The United States had a really strong start to the game. Two really good chances in the opening 10 minutes. The first of which started with Serginho Dest playing a really nice vertical ball down the line or down the right hand side, somewhat narrowly to Tim Weah, who was playing right wing. And Tim Weah, this is the first I've ever really watched of him, and he really impressed me. He takes the ball right over the shoulder, takes it down, I think on the thigh, does a juggle or two, and then crosses a driven ball in across the six. Really dangerous, so dangerous that it caused the Welsh defender to have to deal with it. He put the defender in a really tough spot, and it almost resulted in an own goal in favor of the U.S. But the goalkeeper was able to parry it away. And then, not even a minute later, the other outside back for America got involved. Anthony Robinson, who looks 140 pounds soaking wet. He played a nice ball in for Josh Sargent to head in. Unfortunately for U.S. fans, he hit the post. But the United States were really starting the game strong and taking it to Wales, kind of giving them some warning signs that the pressure is going to keep coming. And it's one thing to have a team sit back and absorb pressure, but it's another thing for the U.S. to actually take it to Wales. Sometimes teams sit back and, it's kind of you can get discouraged. I know as a Liverpool fan or dominant teams that really don't do anything with the possession when you're kind of lacking that spark. But that wasn't the case for the United States. I was really impressed, as I've said, with the U.S. team today. And then the opening goal in the 34th minute, I believe, Christian Pulisic picks up the ball right around the center circle and does what he does best. He just drives forward through the center. I actually was kind of let me just continue. He drives through the center, draws all attention and defending bodies toward him. Tim Weah makes a really smart run, kind of against the grain, times his run right, Pulisic slips it through, and Weah, still with a defender on him, is able to kind of ride the pressure, pull the goalkeeper out, and slip it right under the goalkeeper to make it 1-0. Really great composure, great finish. You've seen a lot of experienced strikers not convert that chance. He makes it look easy, but it's not a given that is a goal. So I think a huge credit to Tim Weah for getting himself on the score sheet. He was very, very good today. I think he and Brendan Aronson, who didn't start the game but came on in the second half, really impressed me. He is a New Jersey kid, and I think he should be starting. He made that much of an impression on me. He's just one of those players that is really smart with the ball, knows how to turn, use his body. He's a thin guy, but he plays much bigger than his body, to quote a John Mayer lyric. But yeah, he's really smart with his strength and just a very savvy player. So I'd like to see a lot more of him. And then in and around the 65th to 70th minute, Wales, as you kind of expected, trailing in the game 1-0. I even said it to one of my coworkers while I was watching with him. We had a nice little watching party, and I said it'll be interesting to see the tactics kind of revert, because the United States were given the freedom to attack Wales, and as I said, Wales was absorbing the pressure, but I said you watch as the game moves along, Wales is then going to become the aggressor, and the United States will try to protect the lead and preserve the 3 points. And so that pretty much exactly happened, and credit to Wales for getting themselves back into the game. Their attacks came through Bale, and Ben Davies had a headed effort on goal. Really nice save by Matt Turner. Like to just take an opportunity to shout out Matt Turner. Was also my first glimpse of him. I gotta find another word for impressed, but he had a real nice showing. Everything you want from a goalkeeper. Very assured, very safe frame, and I think if Matt Turner's your goalkeeper, whether at club or country, I would be pretty happy with that. Granted, I haven't seen him make a mistake just yet, but I mean, even established goalkeepers that have quite a good reputation make mistakes, or like Edouard Mendy today for Holland's second goal made a real bad mistake, parrying it right into Davy Clausen's path, and that was the second goal, but that was another match. Matt Turner really made some important and good saves. I think the defenders will all be quite comfortable with him behind them, so credit to him. And then where the game changes is in the 81st-ish minute. I believe his name is Walker Zimmerman, one of the two man-bunned U.S. center backs. The ball moves from right to left in a pretty dangerous, not so dangerous circumstance where the ball is moving away from goal. Bale has his back to goal, and I guess one announcer may say credit to Bale for having, some offensive penalty box awareness type of thing, getting his body in the way. I mean, he was looking for the foul. My first instinct was it was a soft penalty, but when you look at the replay, Zimmerman makes a very silly challenge, and it's really disappointing and unfortunate to see that penalty given, because it wasn't against the run of play at the time. Like I said, Wales was putting pressure on the United States, but I think with the way the United States played and on the balance of play, balance of possession, And most of the game, the United States were the better team and, got the goal that should have been enough to get that victory. I know some United States fans were unhappy with the refereeing. I didn't love the referee. He didn't seem very confident. He didn't seem very experienced. Um, I kind of got the sense of what kind of calls he would make and not make through the course of the game, and I'm not saying that in a positive way. Pulisic, um, rewinding about 15 minutes prior to the penalty being given, had a penalty claim of his own, um, attacking from right to left. Tim Weah played a crossfield ball in a sort of breakaway-ish moment where Pulisic was putting the burners on and he was trying to latch on to the end of this cross and attack the goal. And it probably would have been a goal because it would have been a pretty high XG moment. But the Welsh defender, forgive me, I forget who it was, but put in a pretty rash challenge. I think he kind of nicked the ball, but at first glance, it did look like a penalty. Again, maybe a soft penalty, and you'd have to maybe go whatever. I'm sure they would have reviewed VAR, and who knows. But that was up for debate, as well as Chris Mepham, number 5, the Welsh center back, arguably should have been sent off. He got a yellow card for the second challenge that he put in on Pulisic, where the first challenge he would have claimed it was shoulder to shoulder, but he really barged into the back of Pulisic. He knew exactly what he was doing. All you had to do was watch, rather than describe what happened, just watch how it played out, and you would see that he wasn't going for the ball. He was trying to leave one in on Pulisic. It was a cheap barge in the back, and Pulisic went bundling to the ground. So that probably should have been a yellow. And then whatever, you can't go back in time and see if he would have put in the second challenge warranting another yellow. So anyway, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, as a US fan, if you want to complain about referees, be my guest, but I think that you did it to yourself. Unfortunately, I won't put Zimmerman's name up in headlights because, again, I'm trying to paint a pretty rosy picture. I was pretty proud of the performance, but Zimmerman did make a pretty crucial mistake, and then Bale steps up and he just drills that penalty, really well struck, and Matt Turner gets a pretty solid tip on it. You may not even know it to look at it if you watched in silence, but you heard it straight away from live. There was 2 thuds, Bale hitting the ball and Turner definitely getting a good piece of the ball. So credit to him for making contact with it, but it did end up in the back of the net, and all the Wales fans go crazy, and that's pretty much about it. 9 minutes get added at the end of the match. I'm not really sure what's going on with all these stoppage time additions. There was 14 minutes in the first half of an England game. That's the most I've ever seen in either half, and typically you don't get that much at the end of the first half. But anyway, there were injuries in both the England and Senegal match, but for whatever reason there seems to be a trend that there are a huge amount of stoppage time minutes added. So, hey, more football. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the USA Wales match. I'm pretty happy with it. It's, as I said, disappointing to kind of throw away that lead on such a silly sort of mistake. But listen, it could be worse. Had you lost that match, you're really facing a huge uphill battle because that was the most important match of the USA's World Cup group. It just so happened to come first. Those teams are pretty obviously vying for second and third. Now, England has had capitulations in the past. Obviously, they had a really strong start today. I'll just quickly go through their 6-2 victory against Iran. But yeah, the United States would have really been in the driver's seat. Had they beaten Wales, I was even saying that they could really play against England without pressure had they beaten Wales because, hey, we're not supposed to win this game. You know, we'll fight them, but and see what happens. But you know that you can probably beat Iran, and now things get really interesting because now it's okay. Obviously, literally, USA Wales ended even, but now things are really even through the course of the group because both of them will again obviously give it their best shot against England, but you're not really banking on getting a result against either of them. Obviously, that could be the difference if one of the U.S. and Wales ties and one loses, but they're both going to be expecting to beat Iran. So if they match results, then it's going to come down to goal difference, which is the first tiebreaker, and head to head is the second tiebreaker. Just throwing that out there. I had to look it up myself today. Okay, England, Iran. 6-2. England had to wait a good 30 minutes before their breakthrough. There was the concussion to the Iranian goalkeeper, so that took time off the clock. But Jude Bellingham gets things, started with a really nice header. His price tag goes up 25 million. Obviously, everyone already wanted him. Name a top club in Europe, and they want Jude Bellingham. Liverpool, at least before the World Cup, were supposedly favorites. I don't know if that's just FSG trying to position Liverpool as top of the pile, or speaking something into existence. Who knows? And that's later down the line. I'm not going to start talking about Liverpool transfer rumors during my World Cup recap. But yeah, Bellingham was really impressive today. I mean, this game turned into a scrimmage, so you can't put so much stock into it. I'm not going to put so much stock into Ecuador, Qatar, because sometimes it looked like I could have been playing out there and done what they were doing. But yeah, England can be really happy with that. With that performance, with that result. Obviously, it lays down a marker for nothing else. People are talking about England. You're not showing any reason why you can't win the World Cup. I'm not saying they're going to. I personally don't. But, yeah, turned into a scrimmage. That's about it. Multiple players on the score sheet. Harry Kane doesn't get on the score sheet. Hooray for Harry Kane haters out there like me. But, yeah. And I was asking an England fan that I know, would you change anything to your starting lineup based on what you've seen today? Again, obviously with such a resounding victory, I highly doubt that Southgate will actually make any changes because he's armed with that victory in his pocket. And again, it turns into a scrimmage, so it's kind of hard to say and really be too critical of it. But I was surprised and not. I mean, again, as Southgate, he's super conservative with his selections. Obviously, we know that he didn't play Grealish or Foden, except for from the substitutes bench. I think Foden is actually England's out-and-out best player. I guess we'll have to wait and see throughout the course of the World Cup who performs the best. Is it Kane? Is it Jude Bellingham? Is it Foden? Who knows? But anyway, I guess all that really needs to be said is that England look quite strong. We'll see how they come out against the United States. And I think the United States have already shown enough that they're not going to be pushovers. I think that England fans watching the United States will probably, I think they'll respect the U.S. with that performance. Will they be afraid of the U.S.? Depends who you ask. But I certainly think that England don't think that that's going to be an easy game for multiple reasons. All right, so that is the Group B action. Rewinding to Group A, Qatar versus Ecuador on Sunday. I watched the opening ceremony. It was pretty cool. Again, I didn't really have much of an expectation for that either. But I thought it was cool. They got the nostalgia going. So credit to FIFA for choreographing that and putting the. You're always gonna win over with nostalgia when you show the World Cup mascots from previous World Cups. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was a great tone setter for exactly what it set out to do. A welcome ceremony, get a taste for what things are like in Qatar, or at least how they want to be perceived. I'm not gonna go into the off the field stuff today, at least, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Obviously, it's a completely different culture than America. What I'm used to, even European culture, it's quite different being an Arabic country. And yeah, I thought that the performances were pretty cool. So credit to the welcome committee. As far as on the field, Ecuador really impressed me. I thought that they gave the impression of being quite a serious team. I think you weren't really sure looking at Group A when you're making your predictions. Is Ecuador? Oh, they're one of the weaker South American teams. They even deserve to be here. I had heard some things tactically from Tifo saying that they may not be a really exciting team to watch because they kind of play pretty conservatively and they look for a lot of their chances from set pieces. And but no, I think they were quite good. Again, that game in the second half particularly turned into a scrimmage. Some of the passes were just, Qatar was like Swiss cheese, and they knew that it was really getting away from them. Enner Valencia could have and should have had a hat trick. It would have been the first opening day hat trick, opening match hat trick, excuse me, as I should know because Fox told you 3 times. That was one of the gripes that one of my friends was sharing with me, that they just have run out of things to say and they just keep repeating the same statistics over and over again. I haven't been pleased with the announcers, but what can you do? What's it called? So yeah, Ecuador seems to be a pretty serious team. Again, I think that Group A will line up pretty similar to how I just described Group B. Netherlands should be the strong favorite there. And then Ecuador and Senegal, you just have to see them duke it out, just as US and Wales have. I think either team, having seen both of them play, are quite capable against one another. And so we'll just have to see. Senegal Netherlands was the 11 a.m. match, sandwiched in between England and US today, and that game took almost the duration of the match to find a goal, and it was a beautiful cross from Frankie De Jong to Cody Gakpo. Just played a beautifully timed run by Gakpo. De Jong just put it into what he knew would be a really dangerous area. He caught it was at one of those perfect momentum things where, an untrained eye maybe would have thought that Gakpo was offside. I was pretty certain that he was on, just based off of the timing and, kind of the ebb and flow of the move. But really nice ball, really smart player, Frankie De Jong. And I was very happy to see it because, as I'm about to share with you, here's my bracket. And pretty cool graphic over here by FotMob. Good. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Scores app. And so, yeah, I've got Netherlands winning it all. So I was quite pleased to see them get the opening day victory. Not that I would have been too worried had they tied Senegal. But yeah, and then they got a 99th minute second goal, as I described earlier, by Davy Klaassen. I think I said Clausen earlier, but now I'm saying Klaassen. So anyway, yeah, it was funny. So how did I come up with Netherlands winning it all? And do I fully believe that Netherlands will win it all? Not really. I came up with my bracket just kind of going through the natural momentum of filling it out. I have the teams that I'm rooting for, which are the United States, of course, Uruguay, Darwin Nunez, who I have losing in the World Cup final to Netherlands and Croatia. Um, so those are three teams that I'm rooting for. In my heart of hearts, I don't know that any of those three really can win the World Cup, although, no disrespect to Croatia, the World Cup finalists in 2018, so who's to say that they can't go a step further? And, Uruguay have won it in the past as well. I think that this is going to be a really open World Cup. I think it really might throw some interesting things at us. France already having some injuries. Brazil and Argentina are far and away the favorites based on Las Vegas and maybe influenced by Las Vegas, but the brackets that have been filled out in the pools that I'm running, over 50% of people have picked Brazil or Argentina. So anyway, it'll just be really interesting. It's going to be a hot World Cup. I think that, as I said, the fittest teams are really going to do well. I think that, and this is the beauty of the World Cup. I mean, I've been around long enough to see Brazil and France and Germany flop. Every single country that are the top dogs, I've seen them have a bad World Cup. So it is possible. They all have it in them. Listen, Italy aren't even at this World Cup. Yeah, so I don't know if I would put a large sum of money on Netherlands winning, but I am happy. I think this is a pretty cool bracket to root for. I think the Netherlands can really sort of sync up. Domestically, I think there's some pretty good talent there with Ajax and PSV having some good players, and obviously the big guys, Virgil and Memphis Depay look pretty sharp today. Cody Gakpo, I haven't ever seen, but people speak really highly of him. I guess he's kind of one of the bigger names at this point. Frankie De Jong, of course. So yeah, I think that if they become a cohesive enough team, I think that they, I didn't see anything I disliked today. So just keep it rolling with the Netherlands and Uruguay. Also, I think, not as much as one of the favorites. Although I have seen people picking them, but yeah, they've got Valverde from Real Madrid. They've got Jimenez from Atletico. You've got Darwin and Suarez and Cavani. I don't know how they're all going to fit in, but you got some quite good players there and decently balanced, and so we'll see what happens. Did I hit on everything? I think I covered groups A and B so far. Here are some of the pictures from the U.S. match today. Really nice composed finish, like I said, from Weah. And here was the silly challenge from Zimmerman that I was describing to you. He went right through the back of Bale. Bale wasn't really threatening all that much. All you had to do was kind of stand him up, maybe get a little toe poke on him to get the ball away. But hey, can't cry over spilt milk. And the United States are still in a really good position to do something fun, exciting, noteworthy this World Cup. And that's what we're rooting for. So anyway, that's been my time, I think. Nice little half-hour session with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Hit the bell to know when I post. I'll try to jump on and give my recaps as much as I can during the World Cup. Obviously, here in America, you've got Thanksgiving, so wishing a nice holiday to everyone and happy World Cup, everyone. All right, I'm Scott at Beatty's Beat. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you all soon. See ya.